We saw yesterday 5 shittas in the reason for Baal Ta'acher. What we said there was a 5 machlokas. Tanakama said that 3 regalim yovim Baal Ta'acher. Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai said it has to be 3, but it has to be Kesedra starting from Pesach. So it could be the 3, 4, or 5. We saw the shita of Rav Meir, it's 1. So the shita of Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov, it's 2. We saw the shita of Rabbi Elazar Reb Shimon, it was Sukkot. It has to be the last one. The 1, 2, and 5, they all learn from the fact that there's a repetition of Pesach, Sukkot, and Shavuos in the parsha of Mayadim at the end of Parshas Re'eh. So the extra pasuk they dashen. Rabbi Meir, he dashen from Uvasa Shama ve'Vesa Shama. That's 1. And Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov, he dashen from Moadechem. Now the question is, what do Rabbi Meir and Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov do with the extraneous pasuk of Chag HaSukkos, Chag HaShavuos, and Chag HaMatzos? The extra pasuk. There's the drasha of Tanoim 1, 3, and 5. What do Tanoim 2 and 3 and 4 do with it? Because those are the numbers. Okay, let's pick it up. I went through it yesterday quickly. Let's pick it up from Daled Amid Beis. Daled Amid Beis. The Mamish see the Taisus Ve'ein Tzarech Leimar. You see the Taisus Ve'ein Tzarech Leimar. Parallel to that, Rabbi Elazar Reb Shimon, my timer. But the Tanya Rabbi Elazar Reb Shimon Oimer. What does it say? Lo Yoimar. No, I did this. Not from there. I don't want to start from there. Now, next, go down a little bit. Reb Meir of Reb Elazar. Go down parallel to the Taisus, like 4 lines down. Reb Meir of Reb Eliezer ben Yaakov. Reb Meir who learns from Moadechem, and Eliezer ben Yaakov who learns from Moadechem, and Reb Meir who learns from Uvasa Shama Vesa Shama. So what do they do with the drasha that Rabbi Shimon, the Tanakama, and Rabbi Elazar ben Shimon used? Hai b'chag hamatzos, b'chag hashuos, b'chag hasukos that are extraneous. My darshube. What drasha do they do? If they're not going to use it for Baal Ta'acher, what do they use it for? Says the Gemara, who they need it for the following din, the Chad Rabbi Elazar Amar Rabbi Shia. The Amar Rabbi Elazar Amar Rabbi Shia, minayin latzeres sheyesh le tashlumim kol shiva. How do you know at Seres that you have tashlumim all 7 days? Now, this is a huge chiddush, guys. We said yesterday that even though, despite the fact that Shavuos is only 1 day, you'll have 6 other days to bring the Oilus Re'iyah and the Shalmei Chagiga. These are the kabbanis that you have to bring every Chag. So despite the fact that it's not Chol Hamoed, it's a weekday, how do you know that you have that amount of time to go ahead and be mashlim the carbon if you don't bring it on Shavuos itself? Tamid Loimar, that's what we learn out, guys. B'chag hamatzos, b'chag hashvuos, b'chag hasukos. Now, guys, notice there can only be 1 hekesh. You have 3. Makish chag hashvuos l'chag hamatzos. And sukkos is extra, guys, right? So when makish chag hamatzos, chag hashvuos l'chag hamatzos. Ma chag hamatzos yeshlei tashlum kol shiva. Pesach, you have tashlum, you can bring the Gabbanas all 7 days. Of course, in fact, it is 7 days. Chag hashvuos yeshlei tashlum kol shiva. So too, despite the fact that Shavuos is only 1 day, through the hekesh, through to Pesach, you will get 7 other days. So, Fred the Gemara now, guys. So we went this direction, right? We went from Shavuos to Pesach. The Gemara is going to ask, why don't we go from Shavuos to Sukkot? Of course, Sukkot you get an extra day. Shmini Atzeres is part of Tashlumim. If you don't bring the Oilus Re'iyah, the Shalmei Chagiga on Sukkot, you will be able to bring on the Shmini Atzeres. So why do you limit yourself to 7 days? You can bring it to 8 days.
How the heck is short? Pesach is a 7-day Yom Tov. So Hekesh is going to stretch a 1-day Yom Tov out to 7 days.
The limud, the halacha of the Hekesh would teach me that even though something apparently there is no reason, through its comparison to something there is a reason, I will apply that reason to that. That's what a Hekesh does. It creates halachas that you don't know, and like in Xer Shabbos, sometimes halacha said one place, we apply it to another place. So despite the fact the chiddush, it is a tremendous chiddush, but again, there is a kedusha, innate kedusha to those other days. It's not Shavuos, but vis-a-vis the halacha of bringing a carbon, you can, which isn't such a chiddush. It's a tashlumim. You're making up. I just have to know what's my zman, what's the gevul of making it up. The other ones you're making up a chol shel moed. We call it Pesach, but it's nice. It's choil compared to the moed. not as much as like nothing, like Shavuos, but that's the limit. So the Gemara has the kasha now, guys. Listen, let's go the other direction. Let's compare Shavuos to Sukkot, and then I'll get an extra day of Tashlumin. I'll even get Shmini Atzeres. Okay, says the Gemara. That's what the Gemara's kasha is now. But in Tashlumim it's not. That's what we're going to state today. I left off yesterday. I feel foolish. I stopped the Gemara in the middle, so that's why I'm going over it. Says the Gemara. Let's go ahead and compare it to Chagasukos. Let's go compare it to Chagasukos. Mala halan shmeina afkan shmeina. So now the Gemara says Shmini regel b'fnei atzmahu. As Avrami just said, Shmini is a yontif by itself. So in the Havamina, guys, what? If it's a yontif by itself, it's not part of that shlumin. Fred the Gemara, Eimid Amina Shmini regel b'fnei atzmai. That's the Yimpazar Kashab. Like the Pius, the Zman, the regel, the carbon, the shear, and the bracha. Aval Inyan, you look up in Rashi what that means. Because we did it in Yuma and Beitza and Sukkah. Aval Inyan Tashlumim, Diria called Tashlumim Derishanu. Got it? Got it, Avrami? So Inyan Tashlumim, it's not a regel b'fnei atzma. You would be able to bring the Chagiga and the Ariya on Shmini Atzeres for Sukkot. The Dan, here is in Forsh Mishnah. Anyone who doesn't bring the Korban Chagiga on the first day, so we have a kasha. Why do you have to go to the direction of Pesach and go 7 days? Let's go for go for 8 days. Go for Sukkot. And for the Gemara, tafasta meruba loy tafasta, tafasta more tafasta. We saw this in Beitz. The guys geshmak asvara, right? In other words, you go for 200 and 100, you go for the 100. Why? If you go for 100, you've had right. You go for 200, you might be 100 wrong. So therefore, over here, I might be wrong. So one day we're not going to do. Okay, now. So now you've got a kasha, guys. Let's go through it. So I got an extra Chag HaSukkos, don't I? Yeah. Like Reb Meir, who learns out for that Baal Tachas one day, he learns out for Uvasar Shama Vesar Shama. Like Reb Eliezer ben Yaakov, he learns out 2 days Sumoya Dechem. So the limud of the Tanakama and Reb Shimon Elazar, we learned that from the extraneous Chagas Matzah, Chagas Sukkos, Chagas Shavuos. Now you're telling me you used up 2. You used up matzah and you used up shvua. I have still in that pasuk an extra Chagas Sukkos. What do I do with it? I have 3 things to play with. 2 I used up already. The third one is Sukkos. What do I do with it? So according to Reb Meir and Reb Eliezer ben Yaakov, why did the Torah write Chagas Sukkos? And for the Gemara, la kushe lechaga matzos, to make a hekesh now between sukkah and matzah. What's the hekesh, guys? Ma chag hamatzos toyin lina, af chag hasukkos toyin lina. It's a salt in 1 day yontif, right? So 1 day yontif comes nightfall, yontif's over. It's chol hamoed. There's a din of lina, not lina of a korban. Lina means to stay overnight. So just like Pesach, we're going to see a pasuk in a second that says you have to stay overnight. The hekesh to Sukkot says by Sukkot also, after the first day Sukkot, you have to stay overnight. You can't just run away. Says the Gemara, how do you know by Pesach that you need lina, that you can be makish it to Sukkot? Says the Gemara, ufanisa, and you turn away when? Ba boiker. You'll go ahead, ba boiker, then you'll go home to your tent. But only by the biker because you stayed overnight. So chalamoid in that night, chalamoid in the morning, you go back. Okay, very good. Now, the Tanakama for Reb Shimon tashlumim letzeres minolu. Guys, outside. Guys, cheshbon. We have cheshbon over here. We have 5 Tanoim holding 5 different shittas in the Baal Ta'acher. 3 of them, numbers 1, 2, and 5, all learned it from the Sukkot day. Numbers 3 and 4, they had their own psukim. We asked what numbers 3 and 4 do with the limit 1, 2, and 5. We said they use it either for lina or for the tashlum of Shavuos. So where does 1, 2, and 5 no tashlum in the Sukkot for? Since they use the pasuk for Baal Ta'acher, where do they know it from? Now that they only asked from number 1 and number 2, not number 5. Number 5 has it extra because he only learned Sukkot, so he has the hekesh. Remember, the last sheet that was Rabbi Elazar Reb Shimon. He said, why does the Indian speaking about Sukkos, the last Indian Asat has Sukkos, so why repeat Sukkos in the Indian? To teach me, when you're Bal Tacher, when it's Sukkos. That's got to be the last one, Sukkos. So Mamela, he has the extra of Pesach and Shavuos to Darshan Tashlumin. But later, the Amad Tanakama, and later Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, who darshan all of them to teach me Bal Ta'acher for 3, because they need all 3 for Bal Ta'acher. Where did they know Tashlumin? They don't have the source, right? They don't have Rabbi Meir and Rabbi Elazar and Yaakov use their pasuk as the source, but if they use it for Bal Ta'acher, they don't have an extra to teach me Tashlumin for how do you know Tashlumin? Says the Gemara, has Pshat. Nafkalu midetani Rabba Bar Shmuel. They learn it for Tani Bar Shmuel's thing. Like outside, guys, when you count Shvuot, when you count Rosh Chodesh, what's the denomination of counting? Hours, minutes, or days? Days. Chavtes, Lamed, days. That's the denomination that will ascertain if it's Rosh Chodesh. What about Shavuos? Actually, both. We count Yomim and we count Shavuos. Shiva Shavuos, Tisperu, right? Right? Chamishim Yomim. Okay, so you count what? You count Shavuos, yeah? So just the limud, just like in Rosh Chodesh, the denomination mod is a 1. Shavuos, the denomination is 7, and therefore you have Tashlumin all 7. And Shavuos is a 7 to in. That's the Muslim. Right? Yeah, says the Gemara. Fantastic limit. Says the Gemara. The Tani Rabba Bar Shmuel, Amr Torah, Mana Yomim, count days, the Kiddush Chodesh, count the days, guys, and Mechadash Chodesh, Rosh Chodesh. Mana Yomim, count days, the Kiddush Atzeres. Now, Ma Chodesh Limenuyav, just like the Chodesh goes according to, I'm using its denominations. It's the word is according to its countings, but which means days. Afat Seres Lemenuyav, so to Atzeres goes according to its denominations, which is what? Which is Shavuos, weeks. Good? Which is weeks. So now I know from weeks I know Tashlumin. Fred Gemara Ema Atzeres Chad Yuma. 1 second. I'll tell you one day, guys, just like it says Shiva Shavuos, it says Tisperu Chamishim Yaim. It says days also, right? So, in other words, it says days, it says Shavuos. Why are you opting to go to the Shavuos? It says days also. Amarava, to Atzeres, Yuma Manina Shvua Loy Manina. You only count days. No, you have the mitzvah to count Shavuos also. Once there's a mitzvah to count Shavuos, that's the denomination. It's a mitzvah to count days. It's a mitzvah to count weeks. We say, guys, what do we say? Right? Good. It's called Chag Shavuos. Good. So, guys, we have a limud now, right? Listen to this limud. This is now. I'm going to speak out an unbelievable Or Sameach in a second. It's fantastic. Where do we know? There's 2 sources for tashlumin of what of Shavuos that you get 7 days. If you're Rabbi Meir and Rabbi Elazar and Yaakov, you're going to learn it from what the extraneous, the hekesh from what matzah Shavuos. If you are Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, if you are the Tanakama, you're going to learn it from the fact that it says that you count days and you count weeks, and the weeks, the denomination of weeks is what? It's not even a pasuk. The weeks is what? Is Tashlumin Shvuah. Bisman Hazeh, Sfira Soimer, the counting from Pesach to Shavuos, the Rice of the Rabbanan. Beautiful. Mendy is correct. It's a machlekes. It's a gewaltige machlekes. It's a machlekes. Machlekes Rishonim. The Welt holds it's the Rabbanan. Why? Because it's gembud into the carbon. It's tied to the carbon. We don't have the carbon anymore. We're counting from the carbon oimer till the shtei lechem for the kivsei atzeres. We don't have it anymore. The Rambam says in the Raisa. The Rambam says it's a zaytig mitzvah, a separate mitzvah to go ahead and count. In other words, regardless of irrelevant or regardless of the kabbanis, there's still a mitzvah deraisa. The Rambam shita to count spheres oimer mideraisa. That's a shita. There's a third shita. The shitas of Rabbi Yerucham. Rabbeinu Yerucham says the spheres oimer guys, to count days is the raisa, but to count weeks is the rabbanan. You hear this? You hear it? Again, Rabbi was like, listen to this. Spheres oimer. So We hold Bisman Hazeh, most of it's the Rabbanan, because it's tied to the carbon. We don't have the carbon anymore. There's Rambam Shita who says it's the Raisa. Rabbi Yeruchim, he makes a Peshara. Counting days is the Raisa. Counting weeks is the Rabbanan. Says, where do you get such a cheshbon? Says they are Sameach in Zion from Tamidim Chusafim, right? Halacha Chav Beis, says the Gewaldige Chiddush, based upon our Gemara. What does he say? Where do you know, right? What does Shavuos teach us, guys? What does weeks teach us? Weeks. It teaches us that there's din of Tashlumin, right? That's we just did the Gemara. The din of weeks is to teach me that what? There's a Tashlumin for what? For 7 days. Bisman Hazeh as the Karbanis. So what is Shavuos? It's a moot point. It's the Ravanan. But Yomim Pak is the Raisa. That's the Shita of a shtick billions for Ramei Simcha to explain the Shita of Rabbi Yeruchim. Since Guf is Shavuos is a din in Tashlumin, we see from our Gemara that is teaching us that you can make up the carbon for 7 days. That's why you learn from Shavuos. So if you're counting Shavuos, Bisman Hazeh, it's only the Rabbanan. Mashen Ken Yomim can be the Raisa. That's the Shita of Beni Yeruchim. Beautiful opinion of the Sameach to explain a difficult Indian. Okay, very geschmack. Now, guys, to understand the next Gemara, we have to go back in time, not too far back. Then you unstaple your Gemara, Daf Daled. You have to go back to Daf Daled at the bottom. Daf Daled at the bottom. Art scrolls, you can turn back about 5 pages. Daf Daled at the bottom. Daf Aleph. Daled of an Aleph. Daled of an Aleph at the bottom.
You're supposed to remember this?
Tanrabanan. Chayvei Hadamim. If you chayv demei, right? This person has the wealth, worth, erchin, charamim, hegdeshois, chatois, ashamois, oilois, shlamim, tzedakos, maisros, bechor, umaisa, upesach, leket, shichupeya, kivin shavroleya, shleisha regolim, over baltachet. Guys, good? 16 different things. And baltachet is noig in every single one of them. Good? One of them we said is Pesach, correct? What Pesach are we speaking about? The Korban Pesach. When is the Korban Pesach brought? When's it brought? Can you bring it? You can only bring it on your Dalid. So where's the Baltacher? You have a Brisa saying you're ready on Pesach Baltacher. How can you be on Baltacher 3 months? Whatever sheet that you're going to hold, 1 regal, 3 regal, in order 2. How can you say Pesach? It makes no sense. Pesach has to be what? That day, Yud Dalid. That's it. And Pesach Sheni is this kind of answer. Think about it yourself. Why doctor? You went to medical school? It's not. No, forget Tashlumin. Even if it is a current Pesach, it's not a regulator. It says Pesach. It doesn't say Pesach. Oh, the Shalmei Chagiga, you have a Shlomim. So that's already Torah. Whether the Shalmei Chagiga, you have 3 months. You don't have. It's a Tashlumin. Chagiga, you have 3. It's Tashlumin, Avram. We just had a Gemara. 7 days. It says 3 months, but the Chagiga, but it can't be 3 months. That's only 7 days. It says Kivin Shavlav Gimel Regalim, not 3 months, 3 Regalim. So you can't say it's speaking of the Shalmei Chagiga. It's a great question. You know how good a question is, guys? The Gemara asked it. Such a good question the Gemara asked. Says the Gemara. Let's see the Gemara inside. Fred the Gemara Akasha. Pesach by makriv b'regalim. Is Pesach something you can be makriv b'regalim? Pesach zimna kavile. Pesach the zman's kavua. Yud Daled Nisan in the afternoon. Akreve. If you bring it, you bring it. V'iloi akreve. Itchalei. That's it. You're finished. There's no tashlum into that. There's no chiyuv to make it up. So how can the Brisa include Pesach in the cheshbon of what of the three regalim for Baltacher? Gvalga kasha. You never ask it because when you learn, just read, and stop and think a second. Maybe if you're in yeshiva, but think about it. It's an obvious question. Any one of you could ask this question. I didn't ask it either. Don't worry. I didn't either. Don't worry. So it says Amar of Chista, Pesach Kedi Naspa. Pesach is just learned Kedi. Pesach is just learned. You're right. Pesach doesn't count. We learned to be Chedi. Here's the pshat. You want to just give me the sitter? I just sit right here. You say every day. We say Bechor Pesach, Bechor Maisa and Pesach are always gebunded together. They always come together. When you say Karbanis, right? It says Shlomim Kachim Kalim Shchitas and B'Tzafin. Habachor v'maisa v'pesach kachim kanish kilasim b'tzafin. In other words, it gets schlepped along with the bechor and the maisa. Einochinami Pesach. We're speaking about the korban Pesach, and Einochinami there is no din about tacher. Why'd you mention it? Since I mentioned bechor u'maiser, I mentioned bichdi along the way I threw it. No, not a great guy. Okay, the daichi take a term, but again, this new. Okay, Rav Shesha says, my Pesach when it's speaking about Pesach. Shalmei Pesach. Oh, now Shalmei Simcha would only be at the time of Simcha. Shalmei Simcha would be at the time of Simcha. So Rashi tells us, what is Shalmei Simcha? Look, Pesach, look at Rashi. Shalmei Pesach, guys, Rashi on the right side, right, 4 lines on the bottom. B'shelo kiriv bismanai. You didn't bring it in the right time, the Pesach. She'avad, it was lost. V'nischape ba'acher. And what? You used brought another korban Pesach. Now, guys, we learned the Masechta Pesachim. A Pesach Shlei Bismana, what's it called? Hu Nasa Shlomim. That becomes a Shlomim. Kidanaf Lei B'Pesachim Daf Zayin on the base. The Oisen Shlomim. Im Achron, Gimel Regalim, Iver. And those Shlomim, if you wait 3 months. So when it says Pesach here, it doesn't mean the korban Pesach. It means a Pesach that took the place of a Pesach and became a Shlomim. And that there's a din out of 3 months. Now, this is a Gavaldik Kasha. What? So you missed the korban Pesach? No. I brought the korban Pesach, and this I brought it, and this took its place. It's a shlomim. Oh, so now you have a kasha. Look at the brisa. What did the brisa say? Says the brisa. Chami domim erchin chromim kegdeshus chatas vashamis oilus shlomim. You ready? You said shlomim, right? Oh, so what's the chiddush here? Okay, so what's it's unusual. So what would you think? So what would you say? Okay, I'll give you that. Let's see the teretz. 1 second, we'll accept that. for double jeopardy, we'll do it. Now says the Gemara. Okay. If you tell me it's speaking about Shalmei Pesach, Hainu Shlomim, and we mentioned Shlomim in the brisa. And for the Gemara, Tana Shlomim Haboyim Achmas Pesach, Tana Shlomim Haboyim Achmas Atzman. Why? What's the chiddush? Sal Kedai Dechamina Hoyel Machmas Pesach Kaasi. Since this is coming as a result of the korban Pesach, I might think Ke Pesach Dama. I might think it has the same din as a Pesach, and therefore what? You'd be over 1 regel. Kemash Malon, it's a full-fledged Shlomim, and you're over on what? On 3. That's the chiddush. Okay, so that together. Now that brisa that we just mentioned, it says there's a din of Baal Tacher and all those things. The Gemara Yasminani Mili. The Gemara Yasminani Mili. How do you know? I went through a shtickle tape from my Rebbe Zechet Tzaddik Baruch. He has an unbelievable shtickle here. He said, Rashiva said, you see from here that without the pasuk you wouldn't know Baal Tacher. In other words, when a pasuk tells you something, it means without the Torah you wouldn't know it. So you wouldn't think there's a din of Baal Tacher by any of those things, if not for the fact that the Torah what said. He uses this as a shtickle Torah. There's a shtickle Torah. There's a din of Baal Tacher by Mila. Let's say you don't have a meal on the 8th day. The father doesn't mal the child on the 8th day. With every day or every regal would be over on. I mean, would you be over? No. Would you be over on Baal Tacher?
Every day.
I'm asking you, would you be over, period?
No.
What? Why? So Abba Chiv to bring a carbon. So if the Chi is always there, maybe every single day I'm over Baal Tacher. Guys, you're telling me what you think you're in Boich. You don't hear the kasha? You know, guys, wouldn't you think this is? And what do you think? Would you think this is in a Baal Tacher meal or not? If I asked you outside, after all you seeing this Gemaras, would you think this is in a Baal Tacher? I would say absolutely yes. I would say yes. Why not? It's no different than any other chiyuv that I have to do now and I'm delaying. And they asked the Shaila, and Rashiva said, you see this Gemara not like that. Why? It's not included in the list, and it doesn't say Menani Mili. And Menani Mili tells me, how do I know that there's a din? Without these pesukim, I wouldn't know there's a din. Since there's no din of Mila stated over here, I wouldn't think there's a din of Mila, about Tacher. You got other things. You got other things besides Kabbanis there. You got other things besides Kabbanis there. Okay, so now we're gonna. In order to do this, you need a pasuk. If you have a chumash, it's great. You need devarim chaf gimel chaf beis. Guys, if you have a chumash, it would be helpful. If not, listen to me, and you'll forget the pasuk as soon as I read it. Okay. You probably, if you have art scroll, you have it there, guys. If you have art scroll, you're gonna have it inside. If you have art scroll, you can have it. It's devarim chaf gimel pasuk chaf beis. Okay. Okay, this pasuk, we're going to learn that every single 16. Guys, from those 16, we're going to learn from this pasuk. All 16, we're going to learn from this pasuk. What does it say? Kisido neder laHashem elokecha. If you make a vow to Hashem, your God, you shouldn't be what? Delayed in bringing it. You shouldn't be delayed in bringing it. Ki darash yidrashenu Hashem elokecha meimach. Hashem will seek it from you. And in you there'll be a chet. That's what the pasuk says. That's the chet. Make a neder, pay up. You don't pay up, Hashem's going to seek it from you. You're going to pay the price. This pasuk we're going to learn all 16s. The May, Erchin, Charam, Hegdesha, Maisa, Shlom, Chatas, Asham. All 16 things that we mentioned in the Brisa that we went through so quickly, we're going to see it from this Gemara. So how do we see it? Let's see. You see the neder, Ein li'edel neder. Guys, the neder is, we say, Harei Olai. It's upon me to bring a carbon. Nedav minayin. Why do you say Harei Zu? If you, in other words, I say this animal's a carbon, then afkamina, of course, would be if it gets lost. If it's in the dava, you don't have to make it up. If it's in neder, you have to make it up because it's on yourself. Nemer kan neder. It says over here, you see the neder. The nemer lahalon. It says neder. The im neder oy nedava. Ma lahalon nedava. Just like later on in Vayikra, before the nedava is with it. Afkan in this pasuk of see the neder. Through what the Gezer Shava, we'll go ahead and say that what that also Nadav or Mem Etzino. Okay. Then pasuk continues. Lashem Elokecha, Elu Hadamim Ha'erchin VaCharamim VeEgdeshos. Now, all these things, guys, go to the Bedek Habayis. All these things, the Koyin has no chelik, has no part of this, guys. Look. So therefore, Lashem Elokecha. So Demei Alai Erchin Alai Charamim. Stam Cherim is the base of Bedek Habayis. The Egdeshos being Magdish. All these Lashem Alekecha, right? They go to Hashem because the Kohen doesn't have a piece of the action. So I've learned all those from those words. What does that mean? Who there's a din about ta'acher in these things, the loy chilufov, but not in its switch. We're going to see this. The Gemara is going to go through Arichas. What's the switch over here that there would not be a din about ta'acher? And continuing the pasuk. Ki dorish yidrashenu eilachatos v'ashamais. Guys, who's chayiv an oila? Who's chayiv a chatos v'asham? Somebody did an avera. Hashem is going to say, I expect you to bring it. I expect you to do tshuva. I expect you to get a kapara. Ki dorish yidrashenu. Oilas eilachatos v'ashamais oilas v'shlamim. This includes oilas v'shlamim. Guys, this is the oilas v'yim shalmei chagiga. Because if it's neder and adava, you said that already. A neder dava is outside. What's the karbonis you can bring as a neder dava is an oil or a shlamim. A toida is a type of shlamim. You could bring that, right? Because I want to bring that. Then there's an oil and a shlamim that's a chiyuv. An oil is ru'iyah or a shalmei chagiga. That's a chiyuv that you have to bring. So over here, when it says hidarish rashenu, I'm going to seek the things that you have to bring. If you did an avera, you're going to have to bring a chatas. If you did an avera, you have to bring an asham. If you're oil regel, you have to bring an aspia. So he's going to seek that and a shalmei chagiga. So that pasuk, that those words of the pasuk is chatas hashamis oilus shlamim, but not oilus shlamim that are neither nedava, rather the chiyuv. Hashem lokecha, the second Hashem lokecha in the pasuk, elu tzedakos u'maisos u'bechar. This is tzedakos, maisa, and bechar. All these things will be begedel Hashem lokecha. Me'imach. From you, because all these it says by the niyam that the onis that with you, the onis that's with you, imach, the same thing. So this is zekel and then it says you did not avera, guys, but your carbon didn't. Immediately your carbon won't be puzzle. Even if you delayed in bringing it, right? You can still bring that carbon. There's no psul in that carbon. You can still bring it. Okay, that's the brisa. Now we're going to go over the brisa. The omamar, we're going to go over the brisa, guys. We're going to go over the brisa. Omamar. It says. In other words, if the animal, that animal itself, there's a din about tacher, but a switch in that animal, there's no din about tacher. Now we're going to go through the various possibilities of a switch. Now, what is exactly the switch we're speaking about? If you're telling me you switched an oila and a shlamim, mikrov karve. Why should there not be a din of Baal Ta'acheh? They're regular karbanos. If it's what Tumuras Chatas, Lemisa Oslo, one of the 5 Chatas Shemesis we discussed, right? Right? In Yuma we said Chatas Shemesis Ba'Allah, Chatas Shekipla Ba'Allah, Vlad Chatas, Tumuras Chatas, and Chatas Shav Shenasa, both 5. Okay, so it can't be. Of course, there's no din about Ta'achir. It's dead. So I don't understand. The Karbanis you switched an oila. Of course, there's a din about Ta'achir. So it can't be going on that. It can't be a Chatas because that dies, right? Elamai chilufav chilufei toida, a carbon toida. What's the case, guys? The following: the Tani Reb Chia, toida shenis arib t'murasa. You got a toida that got mixed up with its tamura. Umesa achas mehen. And one of them died. The Chavirah saying like takana. The Chavirah doesn't have takana. Okay, outside. Little yediyah. A carbon toida is a shlamim with 2 unique qualities. 1, it's eaten only for a day and a night, and 2, you have to bring 4 types of lechem matzahs with him. One is chametz, and 3 are matzahs, and 10 of each, a total of 40. You give 1 set to the kaya, and you're good. Now, when does the lechem get its kedusha? When you shech the chatas. Good. So let's say I had a chatas and a tamura, and they got mixed together. And they're alive. They're alive. So what do? You have a very good eitzah. I shech the first carbon, and I say, if this is a toida, then that lechem should be kodesh through this. And if it's if it's not, it should be kodesh. And you said the second one, the same thing. So using the formula of a tanai, you'll be able to be yaitz the carbon, no problem. You'd have lechem that has kedusha, and you'd be able to eat the toida. What happens if one of them dies? You can't do anything because it might be a toida, it might not be. On the fact that it might not be, the lechem is not kodesh, so you're stuck. So says the Gemara. The Tani Reb Chia, toida shenis arva t'murasa umesa achas mehen chavirasa ein letakana. It's chavid does not have a takana. Heichel avid, what should you do? Lekarva, to go ahead and bring it as a carbon. Ulekarva lechem ada, and to bring the lechem with it. Dilma tamurahi, maybe it's a tamura, and therefore it's not makdish the lechem. Lekarva b'lei lechem, to bring it without lechem. Dilma toidahi. V'ha keeping the lav. Okay, so I'll say therefore you have no choice. So the case, guys, of v'hoye b'chachet is speaking in that case where a toida gets mixed up and one dies, you wouldn't be have a din of Baal Ta'acher. It's telling me you wouldn't have a din of Baal Ta'acher. Good? Fred Gemara, the obvious question. Well, keeping the lav bas hakravihi, krol lemute lamali. Guys, why does the pasuk tell me that this carbon, if you don't bring it within 3 regalim, you're okay? What's the Gemara telling me? What's the Gemara telling me? You can't bring it as a carbon. You're stuck. You got to tell me in a case where you can't bring, there's no din about tacher. When we say that there's no din about tacher, means you could bring it, right? Over here you can't bring it. So the limit of hayi b'chet makes no sense. The limit of not it makes no sense. It was no ki loisach l'shalmei. Loisach l'shalmei makes no sense. Makes no sense. But keeping the lav basakravi, he krol lemute lamali. Why do you need a pasuk of loisach l'shalmei to exclude it? You're right. Forget about the taida. It means the oil of shlamim. Now, what was the kasha, guys? What was the kasha? Oil of shlamim is mikra of karve. Bring it, right? It's a regular carbon. You should have a din of shalosh regalim. For hacha b'mayaskina, what are we speaking about over here? Kigoin sha'avru alav shnei regalim. Are you sure there's someone up there? No, we sent over by Michelle. V'hacha mayaskinan, ki going sha'avru alav shnei regalim, 2 regalim passed by, v'humam. 2 regalim passed by, v'humam, and they got a mum. So now, guys, the clock was ticking on this carbon, right? 2 regalim, and you got one more. However, v'humam, it then got a mum. It then got a mum, and you can't bring it. Then you did what? The chil loyal acher, and you transferred the kedusha from this carbon onto what? Another one, and you transferred this and the other love rechel echad, and then another regel passed. So there's a svar to say what? This one is a continuation of the other 2 months. Since it comes from the first one, Kimanda over love Gimel Regalim Dami, I might think you're over on Gimel Regalim, Kimash Malon, that you're not. So when the Pasuk says, to exclude Chilufov, you know what it means, guys? It means the following scenario: that where you had a viable carbon and the clock was ticking and you passed by 2 months and then it got a mum and you switched it, you might think you're over about to Acher in the 3rd month, a 3rd Regalim, Kamash Malon, yet Kamash Malon, that you're not.
So what? Clock.
Starts over.
But you're not going to be over about to Acher in this carbon. I'm not sure.
Oh.
Okay, says the Gemara Vaita. And according to Rabbi Meir, who says, since you passed 1 regel, what are you going to say? Guys, the case of Leach Shalma B'Chilufav, you just established it speaking, where an animal bit 2 regalim passed, it got a mum. Like Rabbi Meir, you would have been over already. So how does Rabbi Meir learn pshat in the limud of Leisach L'Shalma B'Chilufav? It can't be the case we just said, because like our case, he would have been over already after 1 regel, not 2. Says the Gemara, that it got the mum in the middle of the regel, the chilulai, and then you machalit voivel of a regel. You won't be over. Like him. So it's the same case. An animal that came b'koyach, an animal that, guys, you bring an animal up, the clock's ticking. You have one. You bring it up Pesach. You have 6 days, 7 days to bring this carbon. And on the 3rd day, it gets a mum. You replace it. The clock stops. That's the chiddush. That even though you're a mayor, you be over, you normally would have been over, kamash malon, dafka the animal itself, but not chilufov, not the switch of the animal. The normal din of bal ta'achad that would apply, wouldn't apply. I would say that, I don't know if the clock starts again, I'm not sure. But again, like the pshat in the Gemara, we have. Okay, the next pshat was v'hoye b'chachet. V'hoye b'chachet, we said, v'loy becoming carbon nachachet. There's a chet in you, but not your carbon. What does that mean? That means that the carbon is not possible. You can bring it. Okay? Said the Gemara, you learn it from here, from the pasuk midacherim nafka, from acherim. That's acherim, guys, is Rabbi Meir, but he learned from Acher. Elisha ben Avua, that became Acher. So acherim, we don't say his name, we say acherim from the Acher. This is Rabbi Meir. So Rabbi Meir said what? The Tanya, acherim moimim. Now, guys, the din of Bechor is supposed to bring up to the kohen within the year. What happens if you miss the year? Can you still bring it? Yes. So now it says, I might think of Bechor that a year passes by and it should be like Psulim Mikdashim and it becomes apostle. The pasuk says, you should eat in front of Hashem. Maisa de gancha tirosha b'yitzarecha. U'bechoris bekarcha b'tzeinecha. Makish bechor l'maisa. We make a hekish between bechor and maisa behema. Ma maisa behema in a nifsal mishon l'chaverta. That doesn't come puzzle. Af bechor in a puzzle mishon l'chaverta. So also over here, guys. So what do you see? Just like a bechor after the year is over, it's not about ta'acher, not puzzle. So too about ta'acher. It's the same thing, guys. What's the difference between an animal he's supposed to bring 3 regalim, and an animal he's supposed to bring within a year? Just like a bechor within a year, if the year is over, it's still good. So to an animal, after 3 regalim, it's still good. So what do you need? The pasuk v'hayibachachet to teach me that? I can learn it from the acherim from bechor. Says the Gemara, it's the I still need v'hayibachachet. I still need v'hayibachachet. Why? Salkadat. I mean, I would have thought. Hani mili. When are you not? It's not puzzle. That's bechor. The lav bar hartzah. There's no ritzui by a bechor. It's not for a kapara. It's not for a gift. It's just something that automatically became kodesh. Aval kochim d'bnei hartzoninu. Kochim that is either for a kapara or a gift. Ema loylartzi. Guys, what's the difference between a bechor? Why would it be accepted and a neder? Good. I'm bringing a neder to. I want to bring a gift to Hashem. I mamish want to bring a shlomim and oila, or I want to bring a chatas to Hashem. I need to bring a chatas to Hashem, right? Both cases, would appear to me that you should be very willing and happy to bring it. I want Hashem to be happy with my matana. I want Hashem to accept my forgiveness, right? What about Bechar?
It's happened.
Bechar has nothing to do with a gift, nothing to do with kapara. It's basically you're stuck. Basically, you're stuck. Like you have to schlep it up to Yerushalayim. I have no enough from it. I have no kind from it. So there, I would say, you know what? Since there's nothing gained, so there's no din of psul. Mashenkin over here, there's something pressing you to bring it, and you didn't bring it. I'd have a havamina about the tak is a psul. Kemashmu on the husband. The pasuk leisachel l'shalmoi. The pasuk that tells me I needed that limud. Gishmak. I needed that limud. Okay. Va'akati Fred the Gemara midben azay nafka. Another same kasha. Why do I need the hayibachachet? Tell me that the carbon's not puzzle. I would know the and I write bechar. No, there's a difference between bechar and I still have ben azay's limud. Now the pasuk says, guys, pigel hamakar by soy layachashet. Pigel. It says by pigel layirotze, it should be accepted. Hamakar by layachashet. Let's just go outside a little bit, just again. I don't know what you remember, what you don't. Pigel is when you have a machshav in one of the four by the Saddam, be it the shchita, the kabbalah, or the Allah, or the srika, to bring it chutz l'makom and chutz l'zman. If it's chutz l'makom, the carbon's puzzle, there's no chi of karas if you eat it. If it's chutz l'zman, the carbon's puzzle, and there's a chi of karas if you do eat it. Good. So the pasuk says, "Hamakar v'isai." Anyone who brings the carbon that you had the rav machshava, lo yayrotza, it won't be accepted. It won't be accepted. And it says, "Hamakar v'isai." Ben Isai says, "Isai matamad loymar." If you since it says don't be delayed in bringing your carbon. I would hear I might think a person that delays his neder is over on balye ratza. I might think just like pigel, you're not allowed to bring. I would think if you're over on bal ta'ach, you're not allowed to bring. Tamaloymar oisoi below ratza. Dafka pigel, you have a problem of acceptance. The aim ma'acha nidroi below ratza. Okay, so we have a source for the carbon is accepted despite the fact that it's late. Just one problem. Now you got an extra pasuk. If I'm learning it from Pigel, what do I do with the pasuk v'hayibchachet? That appears in Chav Gimel Chav Beis in Dvarim. Says the Gemara Ela b'chachet v'lei b'ishtachachet. Listen to this. You there's an aver, but not your wife. Salka, I think I would have thought Hoyel v'Amar Rabbi Yochanan v'Item Rabbi Lazar ein ishta shalada mesa elam came mevakshim menu mamin vein loy. Person, right? Who I guess I think they say that the woman knows about it also. That mevakish minimum, and he says he doesn't have shnemar and ein lechol shalem lama yikach mishkavcha mitachtecha. Why should I take your bed from underneath you? So I'd say ema b'hai oven the baltachen ami yishtei mesa in this oven that a woman should also be punished by your wife dying. Kamash malon that what? No, kamash malon that dafka b'haya b'chachet and you a chet but not the ishtachachet. Okay, tomorrow, I don't know. Tomorrow, Moshe Shabbos is going to be also Moshe Shabbos, and Sunday we have